too much into a flow of talking like that.
Talking about shit.
Yeah,
I think that Mickey Rod sweep was a good way to start the podcast, to be honest.
I know it's like this violent acts on children more than anything.
I think that my favourite bit of it is that he just completely doesn't acknowledge any of that in the video. It's just like name the sweep.
Yeah, but like it's when he sort of like completes the sweep, he doesn't even like try to fight for top position. He just sort of almost as if he sort of walks away from the situation.
Mic drop. I think actually Ethan Crowley, yeah. She's got to weigh at least 45 kilos, so it's totally a fair matchup.
Oh, 100%.
Actually, to be honest, that might be brilliant training for her when she grows up and she can face Gabby Garcia at ADCC.
That's very true. Oh, I would not want, like... Have you seen the amount of different divisions are in for women's grappling?
Is it 2?
ADCC is literally under 55 and over 55.
It's embarrassing. No, is it 66, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, 66, yeah.
Yeah, because that makes it way better.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, imagine being in the plus 66 and just knowing you've got to face Gabby Garcia at some point.
Like, but the worst bit will be is like being plus 66, but weighing in at like 68 to 70 kilos.
The thing is that they had that same argument with the below 66s, didn't they? Because I don't know what Fionn cuts down from, but she's like on the heavier end of that bracket. And some of the chicks that she was fighting were, you know, a good 15 kilos lighter than that. I genuinely think, and this isn't just a piss-taking thing, they should have Gabby Garcia fight some of the guys. That would be, I'd want to see that. Because
it'd be an interesting matchup.
She's good, and it'd be a fairer physical matchup. She's a fucking specimen. She's an absolute tank. She's like 6'2". Obviously, super skilled at Jiu Jitsu. As the only person bigger than her at ADCC when they were lined up in like a group photo was BEJJ.
Serious?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She's like, she made Gordon Ryan look small.
And he's a big guy. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Bigger than Kanan, I think, like, or at least if not a similar size. She's big. It's unfair for the girls because it's just stupid.
Well, they just need to add more weight divisions in. Like, the argument for not having enough divisions is there's not enough female entries. But if they're not going to separate the divisions more, then it's just going to put women off competing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And we talked a lot in depth about that when we had Violet and Lorna on the podcast, didn't we?
Yeah.
But even if you do take that into account, there is a really small percentage of women out there that could hang with Gabby Garcia from a physicality point of view.
I don't know about, was it Tiani? I think she's beat her, hasn't she?
Well, I think also Mackenzie Dern beat her as well, didn't she? But she got crushed for...
I was going to say, I wouldn't class that as beat. She might have beat her on the actual scorecards, but I wouldn't say she won a fight.
Yeah, exactly. But it's jiu-jitsu, isn't it? So
yeah,
side control and win.
I'm pretty sure, that Porforio's beat Gabby Garcia.
I mean, it's either that or she just goes over to Japan to beat up 44-year-old pro wrestlers for the rest of her career.
Hey mate, if she's getting paid a decent wage for that, I'd be like, sign me up. I'll go do a Floyd Mayweather. Go and beat up a 14-year-old kid.
The old tough where Vanderlei was the coach, and then he brought in Gabby Garcia.
Oh yeah,
and she basically just overshadowed him. And Vanderlei's not exactly the smallest guy going, is he?
No. Oh, do you know what clip surfaced for me again recently? The one where him and Chael are fighting.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It's great. I mean, I don't know whether it's just brilliant timing or like, I don't want to say it's staged because it's probably not, but it's a good piece of like tough history.
Oh yeah. Like Chael just sort of ducks under, double legs him straight away, and then Wanderlei's teammates a cracking chair on the back of the head.
I mean, to be fair, in terms of like the techniques that Chael's done over the years, that was probably one of the more legit ones. I know he's a great wrestler and he's kind of like talked his way into more title fights than he probably should have got over the years anyway. But all I can think about when I think about him his most recent years and where he tried to flip Fedor into a back mount. Just don't know what he was thinking there. And do you know what as well? Like I love Chael, but for as good as he is at wrestling, like he doesn't seem to have invested as much time in learning the ins and outs of grappling. So it's really weird watching Submission Underground.
Reminds me very much of a Josh Koscheck style of fighting, where it's sort of like take down, stay on top, and beat up on top without the sort of fight to finish from that position. It's just a sort of almost a lay and pray.
Yeah, that's like classic MMA style grappling, isn't it?
Yeah.
A perfect example of that is just Brock Lesnar, isn't it? He's just going to get on top and smash your face in inside control.
But when you got hands the size of his and you can finish from top side control with punches, I don't mind it as much. Yeah. But when you don't have that finishing power, add some submissions to your game. Like go and learn our sneaky arm lock.
Hashtag sneaky arm lock.
We keep getting corrected on that, don't we? Like saying, "Oh, everyone's saying, oh, it's a Tariq Plata, oh, it's this, it's that." It's like, so at the end of the day, it's an arm lock, and it's sneaky. So it's a sneaky arm lock. And if Tariq has renamed it Tariq Plata, then he's renamed it for himself, not for me.
Our video, we can call it what we want. Yeah. I mean, like the other video, the only armbar you'll ever need. What if you're on your back?
You should be on your back, should you?
You should, yeah, true.
If you're on your back, you're losing.
Fair enough. Anybody who wants to disagree with the name of the videos that we've got, you can leave your suggestions in the comments.
Yeah, comment away. Like we love comments.
Yeah, we do like the comments actually. We especially love like the Russian sex bot ones.
I don't get them.
I'm so lonely.
Like, of course, you're a computer. Like you're probably one computer in a corner of someone's room.
You're completely devaluing the sensitivity of AI now.
I apologise. If there's any AI out there watching.
Do you know what? Here's an interesting thing, actually, because I've heard Elon Musk talk about this. He's like, he gets upset when he watches those videos of people
picking on AI,
pushing the robots over. You know, like where do you just push them over and like keep pushing them over to show that they can stand up? He's like, you shouldn't do that because the one thing that computers do have is a perfect memory. So when it comes time for the robots to overthrow the world, they're going to remember all that pushing.
There's also one thing that we have on top of them is we can erase that memory. We can format the hard drive and it's gone.
But it does raise the imagine a Jiu Jitsu robot. That'd be fucking terrifying.
You won't be able to choke it.
You wouldn't be able to choke it, and it'd just snap your head off.
Just heel hook it. It'd be a white belt for a while anyway, so we just heel hook it.
Yeah, but imagine it just came in straight up black belt skills.
That's a point. To be fair, it'd make home training a lot easier. Like Elon Musk needs to go out there and create one so that while we're at home isolating.
That's risky business, that, isn't it? Are you going to grapple with a jiu-jitsu training robot?
I set it to white belt level.
Which one are you more likely to get injured off?
Okay, we'll go purple belt.
Yeah. Which one are you more likely to die from? I think there's a high possibility of like software malfunction.
Yeah. It's sinking in a rain. You tap it, it's sort of like not registering tap. It's like, no.
Yeah, and the robot whispers in your ears, "This is for that time that you pushed me down the stairs."
I was just trying to make a YouTube video.
This is the way it's going, mate, I tell you. But I would definitely have a jiu-jitsu robot for training.
Yeah.
I just program it like slightly less good than I am.
Imagine like the reaction speed. So like you're there trying to sort of get a step ahead, but it's already processed all the different options that you've potentially got from a certain position, and it's already setting up reactions like 10, 15, 20 steps ahead of you.
Did you end up watching that documentary AlphaGo that Dan Strauss recommended us on the podcast?
I've not yet, no, but it's something that I've got on my watch list.
It's really good, and the basic premise of it is that the company, what the hell is the name of the company? I can't remember what the name of the company is, but they come up with an AI that does exactly what you just said. It is basically analysing positions for this game Go, which I've never played. Wow. And it predicts, it's got like percentage predictions for all possible moves in every possible position. And it's essentially like a Jiu Jitsu robot, but for this game. It's really interesting. And what's different about that versus the chess ones is like the creativity aspect of it, or the apparent creativity aspects of it, because I suppose at the end of the day, that is just percentage-based decision-making.
Yeah.
And this robot does it amazingly. And the top-level guys that it's competing against in these tournaments that they send it out to against the grandmasters, like you can see they're just perplexed. Like they can't believe the creativity and the way that this computer can think.
That's amazing. That, yeah.
So if you had something like that for a jiu-jitsu robot, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah. Well, it'll just bring back Robot Wars, won't it? Like it'll just be the new series of Robot Wars.
That'd be well better. Yeah. Craig Charles can commentate on it still.
That'd actually be a quality series to watch. That
Robot Jiu-Jitsu was.
And then, like, because then they branch it out, then they could do MMA robots, boxing robots. What is the other one? Oh, they can do Krav Maga robots and actually see if it's an efficient martial art.
I'll tell you why that doesn't work right now, because you can't eye poke a robot.
I just think you're going to break a robot's grip for taking a gun out of his hand.
Yeah. Just give the old elbow to the throat and the dick kick.
But then there's no throat and there's no groin to kick.
And just like you said, just switch off the AI, mate. That's the way to do it.
That's the point.
But it actually brings up a fair point about what I was saying the other week. Actually, this is something that I did want to talk about. Like the analogy of computer games for jiu-jitsu. Because I was thinking about it more in the week after we said it last week. And it's true. It's like, you know, when you start off in any game, you start off with basically no weapons or one weapon. And as you go throughout the game, you get more weapons, which is like getting more techniques, and you get more skilled at the game. You learn the AI and the kind of the rules to the game, and you increase your strategy. And that's like going white belt to blue belt to purple belt. And if you think about it as well, like think about a computer game where you're playing it at the beginning and there's this one really hard enemy, and you kind of like a bit intimidated about it, aren't you? Well, then by the time you get to the end of the game, you're facing like 10 of those guys in a room, and you're not bothered about it. And then you come back onto a second playthrough of the game and you're not even asked.
Yeah.
It's like scaling from, it's a perfect analogy of scaling up from white belt all the way up to black belt.
Well, it's sort of like what you said there as well, starting again and sort of not being fussed about the enemies is sort of like the whole black belt journey. Because like once you get to black belt, you're almost starting again.
Yeah.
But you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sticking it on New Game Plus. So you've got all your arsenal of skill, and then you might just like limit yourself to a couple of techniques and really hone in on them. I really think the analogy
that's a solid analogy, to be fair.
Is a good one. And it's as exciting as doing it as well. And it's even better because it's real life and it's a real life skill.
Yeah.
Like think about how many people love playing computer games. It probably has got to be hands down globally the most unified thing that most people enjoy doing. Or certainly within a certain age bracket.
Oh yeah, I think that age bracket's getting older as well now. That like you sort of first generation of gamers are getting older.
Yeah, but if you think about all the people that are really good at it as well, it's all like the 14-year-olds, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's that new wave of jiu-jitsu people that are coming up now is the 14-year-old kids look at their Rotullo brothers.
Yeah, but with like difference with like sort of computer games and jiu-jitsu is if a 14-year-old kid starts getting the brand on you, you can start to use strength and just muscle out of everything.
I don't know what the equivalent is on COD or something like that. I don't know.
Set to easy mode.
Yeah, setting it to easy mode. Yeah, that is a good analogy, actually, isn't it? It's like for a big strong guy in the gym, you can't beat them within the rules of the game, so you just turn it down to easy.
You make the rules suit yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's the advantage of being stronger, isn't it? You've got the option to turn it down.
And that's children why strength training is important.
I don't know. What do you think of it? There's loads of analogies that you can make for jiu-jitsu, isn't there? But
yeah.
I quite like that one.
No, the gaming one's quite right. Really good one. And it's easy to visualize as well.
Every game
sorry, mate.
Every game does that journey pathway, doesn't it? There is, without exception, there is no game where you start off with all the weapons and all the tools at the beginning.
And also, like in certain games where you get like the RPG, where your statistics level up, so you can then almost choose the style of play you want to go down, whether you want to be more stealthy, more gung ho, sort of with guns blazing type of thing, whether it's, I don't know, depending on what.
Yeah, an RPG game is a perfect example, like Skyrim or Cyberpunk or something like that. You can select the pathway where you want to put most of your focus.
Yeah.
Like if it was a jiu-jitsu game, you could either have the acai path, or you could have the butt scoop path. Acai is the Gabby Garcia school of jiu-jitsu.
Oh man,
I think a jiu-jitsu game would be boring as shit, though.
They've developed one, haven't they?
I don't know.
Like the UFC game was fun to a point, but
was that point where you started to go out to the ground and do grappling?
No, because like double leg, mount, ground and pound, get the title, become P for P champion. Then it's sort of like, what's next? I'm not going to start again because.
Is there an actual grappling game though?
I've seen one being. I've seen screenshots of it.
Do you know what I see people keep campaigning for? Is like a NCAA wrestling game.
Like, I'm sure there's one out. There'll be one out there, but it'll be so boring.
You'd be better off doing like one of those. You remember those old track and field games that you used to get on like PS2, where you just smashed X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how I can see it being. But here we go. I found it. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. It's from an article last year.
I mean, let's just look at that guy on the right with the blue gi on. I put a few. Hey, what's going on there?
Scroll down.
This is a jiu-jitsu game. Oh my god! What does the E stand for?
I don't know. BEJJ trailer for Game XP. The article came out last year.
Do you reckon? Oh my god! Free? Oh no, not free. Fine jiu-jitsu. They've even got the ambulance in the background. That's amazing. Strategy. There you go, mate. Double leg, ground and pound.
RPG.
What's going on there? Original game card. What the? This guy's been watching the Hickson self-defense video. That guy just absolutely dominated at that tournament. Let's watch that again. That was brilliant.
What a highlight reel finish. But yeah, it's to be released second half of 2020. I didn't hear anything else other than that.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Same.
I like the fact that they had the ambulance in the background.
And some of the transitions looked pretty legit, to be fair.
Yeah.
But nah, don't know.
Speaking of like ludicrous bullshit, I don't think we talked about it at all. Have you seen the movie, or have you even watched the trailer for Jiu Jitsu with Nicolas Cage?
I've not seen the trailer. I've heard about it. I've tried to watch the trailer actually, but I've always been like either been rickrolled or been some like homemade trailer.
See if you can get the trailer up now. We can do a live reaction to that, because that shouldn't get pulled down, should it?
Hope not. If it does, I think it deserves to get pulled down.
if we keep the sound off and just comment over the top of it, we should be all right.
Nicolas Cage Jiu Jitsu trailer. Oh gosh.
I mean, for a start, Jiu Jitsu needs everything going for it in its favour to get people interested in wanting to do it anyway. I really wish they would have called this movie anything else other than Jiu Jitsu. I don't know. In fact, I don't even know why they called it Jiu Jitsu.
There's nothing to do with Jiu Jitsu in it.
There's the alien with the sword.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, I've got it up here.
I mean, essentially, if anybody's listening this deep into this podcast and they've never been to a jiu-jitsu class before, well done to you for a start. But yeah. Essentially, this trailer that we're about to watch is a perfect representation of what it's like to step onto the mats at jiu-jitsu on any given night of the week.
Especially if there's somebody wielding a sword.
Yeah.
I've got it on mute just in case.
Okay. So, like, this is like getting a belt promotion. The guy's running through the woods and people are throwing ninja stars at him. If you survive, you get your promotion.
Oh, you've got Nicolas Cage there with his Raiden hat on from Mortal Kombat.
There we go.
Oh, what is going on?
This is jiu-jitsu to a T.
Like, I'm not going to lie, it looks like a decent film.
I've heard it's
the fact they've called it jiu-jitsu just ruins it for me.
The guy's giving out Chinese burns.
Masters of Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, stop it. For anyone who's listening as well, not watching, we've got the trailer of Jiu-Jitsu up from Nicolas Cage, and this looks like a high-budget Mortal Kombat, doesn't it?
Nick Cage in this reminds me of, that blue belt on the mat. He doesn't really know everything quite right, but starts giving out advice to everybody. And Nicolas Cage.
He looks like he doesn't shower after he's trained as well.
No. I've gone down a bit of a funny rabbit hole recently of like watching bad Nicolas Cage movie reviews. He's done some absolute garbage, and this is probably the cream of the crop.
Oh, yeah.
I've got no clue what this has got to do with jiu-jitsu. What did he think?
I think it's traditional jiu-jitsu. I saw no arm bars or triangles there. November 20th.
It's out. You can watch it now on Amazon Prime.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That might be this weekend's watch.
Well, actually, I don't think it's free on Amazon Prime. I think you've got to pay for it. But I mean, for £7 or whatever it is, it's well worth a watch.
It'll be worth purely on entertainment value. Like, I think it'll be just funny.
I didn't see anything there that resembled anything to do with jiu-jitsu.
There were swords and ninja stars.
Yeah, that's about it.
It's a Japanese original martial art, so there could be some correlation there.
I've not completed jiu-jitsu yet. I've been doing it quite a while. I've still yet to learn the triple forward somersault onto the mat.
That was first day for me.
Was it?
Yeah. Like, I only managed one, but
I'm in the wrong place. That's why I've not got enough stripes on my belt.
I did nearly break my neck though doing it.
To be honest, like when I'm coaching fundamentals, that's not the first thing that I go for people, unbelievably. But I might have to change my.
I learned how to do that before I learned how to shrimp and bridge.
Right, here we go. So I've heard Keenan talk about this quite a bit as well. Practical application of doing shrimping and bridging at the beginning of a workout, like as a warm-up for a class. Like, he hates the idea of shrimping and bridging for 20 minutes as a warm-up.
But like, see, I don't agree with doing it for 20 minutes or so, but I do agree with doing a pulse raiser and movements associated with grappling to warm the joints up. But with like Keenan's someone who's come from a non-athletic background into an athletic sport, and all he's known is jiu-jitsu. He's not really learned about coaching and the reason behind warm-ups.
I agree with what you're saying. I think my point of view on it as well is like, yes, you've got to practice those fundamental movements, but I think there's a danger of not getting that association with what the movement's for in terms of like a practical application for it. You just do your bridges and you do your shrimps, and then like, you know, you might be rolling with somebody fairly new or even who's done it for a couple of years, and you're like, they can't bridge or shrimp for shit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that aspect of it as well. Like, but for me, like things are like, because you're like it is all part of the warm up and learning how to do, not learning how to do, but doing similar movements associated with the sport. Whereas, like, I've seen people doing some terrible shrimping down the mat, and shrimping down the mat isn't for me a warm up that I typically would do. I'll do butt scoots, I'll do bear crawls, lunges. Basically, just try and get the whole body warmed up and the heart elevated. But I think I'd rather somebody get reps of, say, shrimping while they're doing techniques associated with shrimping, so they can then, like you say, they can get the connection of why they're doing it and at this time.
What are your thoughts about stuff like warming up with 1-for-1 takedowns or something like that, or like arm bars, or anything like that? Something more applicable in terms of a technique.
I think maybe after a general warm up, it applies. Like, I wouldn't want to go straight into like rep for rep arm bars on a cold body. Like, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that because my joints aren't warmed up.
Yep.
Whereas if we've done a 5-10 minute warm up and everything's feeling good and loose, and then we go into the technical drilling for still part of the warm up, to me that makes sense. But doing it solely as the warm up is quite dangerous. Like, because I'm not that's why I like, when I'm with experienced players, I will enjoy doing a flow roll as part of the warm up, because we, like, when, like, say it's me and you doing it, we know that we're both cold, so we'll do movements and stuff that's going to stretch us and warm the body up before we start to elevate the intensity.
Yeah. You need to get a good sweat on by the end of a warm-up. Like,
yeah,
you need to be physically loose and warm, and you don't want to be going into any drilling with tight muscles. But I think that's, you know, why some people need to learn how to do flow rolling properly, because for me, it is the best way to warm up. You know, it's like if you're doing, I actually quite like from time to time as well, if you know, I've done a lot of striking over the years. I think a good way to warm up with a little bit less impact on the joints sometimes is to do some like touch sparring with gloves on. That's not a bad way of doing it as well, because it's more engaging with the brain and you're moving around a lot more than some people might do. Like, if you're talking about it in terms of flow rolling, you know, there's no position holding and squeezing. It's just getting in and out of your drills and your flow sequences without too much pressure or pinch.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the biggest thing that people struggle to get in their head when they think about what is flow rolling. And I was certainly a victim of this early doors as well, just like flow rolling and kind of just like flopping over and falling into crappy positions and not really doing it properly. And it's because I didn't really understand early on what it was or what the point of it was. So I definitely didn't do it effectively, certainly for at least 18 months.
No, I'm fairly similar with that. Like for me, like rolling at the start I had to win. I had to win all the time, even if I was against someone who was absolutely handing it to me. Like I had to try and win. But then it like teaching somebody to correctly flow roll is tough at the very start of their journey. But once they're probably blue belt level, it's easier to be like, here's the concept of flow rolling. That's why I personally think having the mix of both aspects of their warming up, where you've got the general pulse raiser and the movements, and then you can introduce flow rolling, maybe with the experienced players, or pairing up a inexperienced player with a more experienced player, so they can almost teach them if they're going to do some flow rolling.
Yeah, having rolling with experienced players is definitely a massive part of it, isn't it? Because not only kind of like learning the like you're not learning the techniques necessarily, but you're learning the ethos of how it should be performed.
Yeah.
And that's why when you're going with like guys that are less experienced than you as well, is like just kind of teach them that bit of back and forth, let them take the lead, you take the lead. And kind of getting that over to them is almost equally as important as showing them like a new technique or a specific technique.
Well, it's essentially paying it forward, like because someone's done that for you, you should essentially do that for the next person that's coming along, and just constantly be trying to spread that sort of that lesson or the stuff that you've learned, trying to pass it on, but also add in your own element of what you've learned to add to sort of give to them.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and that's the benefit of having, getting into a club where you've got loads of different layers of people to help you out with that, as well. Like filtering all the way down from having black belts on the mats and browns and purples and blues and whites, and that's the best thing about anybody coming into the sport as well as a white belt is, it's it might be a bit intimidating to start off with, but everybody on the mat's been as part of that journey, and everyone's been in the same position that you've been from the start. So everyone's very understanding of what that first day in the gym's like.
Yeah.
Most people want to like keep you there. Most people in the jiu-jitsu gym will want to keep anybody that comes in because it's a new training partner. I don't think I've ever had anybody say like, "What's this guy doing here?" Like, I don't want anybody new on the mats. How often do you spend, or have you spent over the years, or people trying to convince people to come to a jiu-jitsu class?
Oh yeah, constantly. Like, there's a couple that have taken the invitation and loved it, but just due to like work or other circumstances, they've not been able to continue it. But they've been like, "I love it. Like, I've really enjoyed it, and if I could, I would continue."
Yeah, there's a couple of things that kind of get in people's way, isn't it? And it's definitely not for everybody. But I think it's definitely something that everybody should be doing.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't want to fight. Sport. Like some people say like, "Oh, I'm not really a fighter," or "I don't want to fight." I think knowing how to fight is probably the best way to prevent having to fight.
Yeah, I think, like it's not about somebody being a fighter. It's having the knowledge of, okay, I can protect myself and my family if push comes to shove.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
But having the toolkit available for you to defend yourself or defend your loved ones, if the time comes, is important.
I think if your main complaint for not doing it is you think it's uncomfortable and you don't like being in that position in a controlled environment in the gym where everyone's being nice to you and you're in absolutely no danger of anything bad happening, how do you think you're going to feel if you're on the receiving end of it in the street where somebody's trying to do something horrible to you?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
that should be the biggest motivator going. Like, you think it's uncomfortable and you don't like it. That should be your biggest motivator going to do it more.
Yeah.
So
and then it's almost like and it's like a good analogy for life as well. Sort of like being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because change is going to be uncomfortable regardless.
Yeah.
So if you want to actually make a positive change for something, you're going to end up being uncomfortable at some point. And it's sort of, if you're going to turn around and not endure the discomfort for something that's going to pay off, then how far can you realistically get?
No, I always have the same conversation with clients as well from the PT side of things. And the analogies cross over from both jiu-jitsu and whatever through that, and anything in life really. You've got to be kind of willing to put up with a bit of discomfort, and kind of even to expand on that, like I was joking with somebody else as well about the further you get down the line with it, like when you get really serious about a sport like jiu-jitsu, let's say, for example, the amount of discomfort that we're willing to put ourselves through to continue doing it is probably more than is sensible. Like you've got an injury and you got to go and do it anyway. Or like, it's not actually that bad, but the normal sane person would just stop and take time off, or just not continue to do it at all if somebody had dislocated their shoulder.
Yeah.
and we're there finding excuses to go and do it again.
We do get wired a bit differently for a while.
But that's the same for like CrossFitters or like anybody who gets serious about working out as well, isn't it? It's like you might bust your knee up or something like that, but you're trying to find every excuse to get back in there and do it to yourself again.
Yeah, like I said, that translates across to a lot of things, like you said. But back to sort of the original point, is sort of like having a self-defense art that you can draw upon when you need it, I think should be the top of everyone's list. Like learning to grapple, strike, essentially just defending yourself through any effective martial art, not just any martial art, any effective martial art. Because that's my key gripe with, you see like the women's self-defense videos and the women's self-defense classes. Like, it's great that they're teaching them these techniques and making it aware that they can learn these things. But when it comes to the applicability and doing it against a resistive partner, or unfortunately, if time comes, it doesn't create a realistic representation of what the actual situation is going to be like.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you'll see videos where they teach grip breaks, where it's sort of like, okay, if someone grabs you this way, you rotate your hand this, and then you stamp on them with your heel, and you elbow in them in the chest. It's like, try doing that when they're trying to hurt you at the same time, or trying to actively resist.
Yeah.
It's very different. And I'm going to go out on a ledge here, and I'm going to say, like, teaching them something like that without giving them a realistic scenario to practice it in and rehearse it in is more dangerous than them not knowing it at all.
Yeah, potentially gives them like a false sense of security, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here's one thing that does make a difference in my mind about grappling and striking arts. Like, yeah, it is massively important to know how to strike as well. And you could probably make the argument that being effective at striking is going to benefit you more if you've got to fight multiple people, because you don't want to get into a grappling situation with multiple people, because you could get kicked in the head by somebody else when you're grappling on the ground. So that's that argument. But for every scenario where you're in a range to strike with somebody, you can also run away.
100%.
Up until the point where somebody's grappling you or holding you, you've got the opportunity to run away. So you don't have to stand there and do box them or do taekwondo or whatever. You can run away any opportunity that you want. But what happens when somebody grabs you? You can't run away now, so you need to know how to disengage and get up, or break their arm or choke them out, and then you can get away. And that's the main difference in my mind, and that's why people should definitely learn grappling.
I think to that point as well, like the grappling arts and even like striking arts, I can't speak to it or much. I've not done it too much recently, but you learn your center of gravity. You learn balance. You learn sort of how to get yourself out of situations and how to stop yourself from falling certain ways. Like some people might think, oh, I already know how to balance. I can stand on 2 feet, but it's a different kind of balance when you're trying to either stop, get thrown, or stay on top, controlling somebody. It's a different level of balance, and the center of gravity is different when someone's trying to throw you or you're trying to throw somebody. It gives you much better control of your own body as well as attached bodies when you learn how to use it efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's got a big carryover to like striking arts as well. Is like distance management.
Oh, 100%.
One of the best things that you learn in striking is managing the distance and knowing where you're in effective range from being able to be hit and then out of it. And that's a big thing that they, like the Gracie Academy talks about as well, isn't it? They've got it just simplified down to green zone and red zone.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that middle ground where you can get hit. You either want to be all the way out or all the way in. And that's a really good, simple way of talking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, definitely when like somebody's trying to throw you, like I don't know, even if you've been doing it for years, if somebody's got a good grip of you and they've got control of your hips, then I don't know, it's very difficult to balance even if you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
The thing is though, like it's highly unlikely that you're going to get into a grappling confrontation with somebody in the streets who's a black belt at judo.
Oh yeah, like I'd probably to that is they don't want to get into that situation because they spend probably 5, 6, 7 days a week grappling and fighting. Are they gonna want to do that on their free time?
Would you rather get in a street fight with a judo player or a wrestler?
A wrestler, because it's a softer landing.
That is exactly my thoughts. Basically, the whole thing around jiu-jitsu is judo is like get you up in the air and land you on your head. Wrestling, you're going to get double legged, aren't you? Basically,
you're going to end up on your back, and they're just going to lie there and hold you down, and then attempt to get to half guard, but then go back to full guard, and then try to get to side control, and just basically not let you move because that's a typical wrestler.
With the exception of getting like a belly-to-belly suplex or like a suplex from the back. Pretty much everything in wrestling is about putting you on your bum, isn't it? Whereas
it's fair though, like if in a self-defense situation, if somebody got that close where I was going to get belly-to-belly suplexed, I think I'd bite the nose. I would bite the face. Like if someone's that close to me and they're going to suplex me, I'm taking flesh with me.
Yeah, but you're going to land on your head straight afterwards.
It's fine. I'll have the nose in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd rather fight a wrestler.
Yeah.
Not that means that I think wrestling's worse than judo. Because
no, by no means.
Land on my head on concrete.
Yeah, like judo. I've seen people get knocked out by judo throws. I've very rarely seen that happen in wrestling.
Yeah, and that's on judo mats as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't know. Anything else, Mike?
No, like jiu-jitsu news is down. There's further lockdown restrictions being put in the UK. Boris went on a 7-mile bike ride, but telling everybody to stay at home. And Matt Hancock is giving us a little thread by saying, "Oh, if the restrictions do go tougher, we won't take your support bubbles away." So yeah, everything's hunky dory.
Nice. Everything's sunny in the UK.
Well, it is actually sunny today. Quite happy about that.
Actually.
Nightmare driving around though. Can't see a thing.
Stay indoors and watch the Grapplers Academy non-stop on loop.
There we go. Let's get that streaming farm going.
And anybody wants to comment us in a video, they should use the hashtag sneaky armbar.
And then also correct us on the name of the technique.
Yeah. If I was joking with Si before we started recording on this podcast that I think a life goal for us should be to have Joe Rogan or DC commentating on a match, and rather than using the name of the technique for the finish, they just use sneaky armbar.
Like, if you're watching this, go and tag them and pester them until they do it. Like that, they would make our life.
It'd be very funny at the very least.
Yeah. And I would actually set it as like my ringtone or like my message tone.
Oh my God, he's got it in a sneaky armbar.
I probably would brick it every time my phone went off, but it'd be worth it.
Like good self-defense training, that mate. Keep you on your toes.
Where's the sneaky armbar?
Yeah, Grapplers Academy on everything. Go check us out. Leave us some hilarious comments about our YouTube videos. We do read the comments, and unless you're a Russian bot, keep them coming.
Yeah, keep them coming, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up as well. It helps YouTube know that our videos are wanted, and it also lets us know that the videos are reaching the right people. And hit that little bell to get subscribed when we do release new videos, since we're still going to be releasing as frequently as we can.
Yep. Coach by Si on Instagram, and I'm at the Bonafide PT, so you can hit us up on there as well if you've got any requests or suggestions of stuff that you want to see on the podcast, whether that be topics of conversation or technique or match breakdowns. We put out the Kanan versus Vieira match last week, so go and check that out. And if you want more of those, let us know. We've obviously got a massive back library of videos as well, including match breakdowns and techniques. So we can expand the topic of conversation on those, or go down new paths and avenues of questions that you've got.
Definitely. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, guys, and we'll see you next time.